The fall of 2024, a season filled with shows, lots of shows. I am of course joking. The upcoming fall season is fairly promising, and in this video I'll go through my watch list for the same. A bit earlier than usual, but we move. As always, we'll go through these as per their popularity according to Life Chart. Make sure to subscribe. Spirit Chronicles Season 2, somehow the most popular show on the site. It's above ReZero. How does that happen? Anyway, it's a good show. You know how you scroll through the anime charts and select every single isekai you come across? Now that I think about it, I might be the only one who does that, but still, while doing so, every once in a while, you come across a solid show sticking out in a sea of mediocrity, and Spirit Chronicles is one such anime. It's no ReZero or Konosuba, but it's a fun watch. Of course, it leans heavily into your typical power fantasy tropes, but it executes them well, from what I can remember. Looking forward to it. Up next, oh boy, we have ReZero Season 3. Look who came back from the store. ReZero is here after a long 3+ years. And in case you couldn't tell, I love this series. It's my second favorite from the genre, second only to the Konosuba light novel. Now, I'll be honest, I don't remember Season 2 all that well. I wonder why. So I'll have to revisit some stuff. Now, normally I would have caved in and read the light novel a long time back, but it's 5 times longer than the Bible. That's a real statistic. It's also longer than the entire Harry Potter series, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the critically acclaimed light novel A Sister's All You Need combined. So yeah, the anime is the only viable option. The release schedule is unfortunate, but I'm looking forward to it regardless. Arifureta Season 3 is here. This somehow has 3 seasons. I'll watch it because I've seen the previous 2 installments, so I'll stick around till the end, and also because I lack any self-preservation skills, but I got nothing else to add. Good god. Danmachi Season 5 is up next, and here's a show that actually deserves to have 5 seasons. I've always loved this title. I love the way the characters are written, I love the overall story and lore, I love the character dynamics. It's a great show all around. It seems like this season will be a bit more laid back compared to the last one, which isn't saying much. The last season was basically a horror show, and I'm here for it. Good stuff. Shangri-La Frontier Season 2. Now, here's an interesting one. Shangri-La Frontier is back with another 2-core season barely a year after the last one. This will either be an exemplary display of efficiency and resource management, or it will be an absolute car crash. I hope this was always the plan, and steps were taken to produce both seasons in a sustainable manner. At a glance, it seems like it's an all-hands-on-deck situation. Studio C2C hasn't announced any other show post SLF Season 1, so it seems like they're soloing in on this one project. Blue Lock Season 2 is here, and this show has to be a money laundering scheme at this point. The TV anime completely fell apart, the movie was an absolute joke based on eyewitness accounts, and now they're back with a sequel. There's nothing worth talking about except the season will probably look stiffer than the last one. That's all I got. Bleach Thousand Year Blood War Core 3. Now, as all of you know, I love Bleach and Bleach fans love me. Part of that sentence is partially true. I like Bleach just as an overall story. I think it's good, but I have pointed out on multiple occasions the problems that plague the current TV anime. I've done so for a lot of shows, but for some reason, Bleach fans are the most reactive. Anyway, I am looking forward to this core. I wasn't the biggest fan of the previous one writing-wise. It felt like a rehash of the invasion storyline from the first core, but not as exciting as it was the second time. Law of diminishing returns, they call it. I hope this core is different. Production-wise, based on what I've heard, things are rough, which isn't exactly a surprise. Hoping for the best. And with that, we have left sequel hell. Actually, we haven't, but shut up. Up next, we have Dandadan, and this is the big one. The next major action IP receiving a high-profile anime adaptation. The project looks fantastic based on what I've seen. The overall style/presentation looks incredible with its own unique quirks that match the source material. Speaking of which, I have tried reading the manga in the past, but I'll be honest, I dropped it almost immediately because of how annoying the male lead was. Hopefully, the anime anime makes me think differently. The show is being produced at Science Saru with debuting series director Fuga Yamashiro at the helm, and everything about it looks perfect. If done right and if the source material is good enough, this can genuinely end up being the next big thing. Up next, we have Loner Life in Another World because, of course, come on, this one can be a lot of fun. It seems like it's self-aware and doesn't take itself too seriously, which is a good thing. Not much else to add, really. The healer who was banished from his party is in fact the strongest. What do you think this is? It's a fantasy. I have no standards, I'll watch anything. You Are Miss Servant. Now here's another promising title. I have read a big chunk of the manga and I think it has a lot of potential. Also, the anime looks incredible. Understandably so, Ayumu Watanabe is directing it. Watanabe is a veteran, like a real veteran, and his recent works include Komi Can't Communicate, Summertime Rendering, Children of the Sea, and the upcoming Witch Hat Atelier. The show has everything it needs, and I think it will be something special. Speaking of good romance adaptations, we have Blue Box. I'm a huge fan of the source material. I think it's incredible both as a romance and as a sports manga. The anime looks very modern. I think that's a good way of describing it. The presentation looks very digital, and I know some people prefer a more raw approach, but I think it looks quite nice. The photography is complex but seemingly well executed. Director of photography Yuki Kawashita does have an impressive resume that includes shows like Vinland Saga, Akebi-chan, and pretty much every modern Madhouse show ever. I have high expectations. 365 days to the wedding. Now look, I'm a simple man. I see the romance tag, I watch. It's actually a workplace romance, and I hope it's more of a wotakoi and less of an ice guy, wherein grown men and women act like middle schoolers. Demon Lord 2099. It's a fantasy with your typical fantasy buzzwords, but the setting is unique and the production value seems to be high. What else do you want? A good story? Now you're just being greedy. Goodbye, Dragon Life. Fantasy Uzumaki. Now here's a major title. Uzumaki, based on everything I've seen, might end up breaking two different curses. It might end up being a good horror anime and a good adaptation of a Junji Ito work. The show is only 4 episodes long and director Hiroshi Nagahama is leading it. Based on his resume, we can safely assume that most of those eerily realistic bits of movement are rotoscoped, and that's a good thing. I think it adds an extra dimension to the whole thing. The most notorious stalker runs the world's greatest clan. A light novel I've read receiving an anime adaptation. What a surprise. It's fine, I like the protagonist. He's not embarrassing, which is more than what can be said for most other shows from this genre. The adaptation does look a bit bland, but the trailers did contain a couple of cool looking cuts. Let's see what it's like. Tying the knot with an Amagami sister. This is definitely not like that one other show with the exact same premise. Definitely not. It sounds like a goofy rom-com, so why not? Let this grieving soul retire. This one is a fantasy as well. What is it, like the 10th one? But this one seems to have an interesting premise, and I'll take anything at this point. Ron Kamonohashi's Forbidden Deduction Season 2 and Rurouni Kenshin Season 2. Two titles that had solid first seasons. Let's not waste time. The Ranma remake. A remake of an iconic series. This one is produced at Studio Mappa, and for once, most of the production has already been wrapped up. We know this because half the show got leaked a while back. Anyway, I don't know if I like this. I wasn't particularly fond of the Urusei Yatsura remake. Same mangaka. We'll see. Magilumir Magical Girls Incorporated. Just a cutesy show that might feature some decent action. It's co-produced by Studio Moe. That's a CGI studio partially responsible for the incredible CG work in One Punch Man Season 2. So I'm looking forward to it. Mechanical Arms. Now every season has a hidden gem or two, and it might be this show this time around. Produced at a new studio and directed by Sai Okamoto. This one is really interesting interesting. The project actually started off as an independent Kickstarter, which raised over $60,000. This led to the production of an OVA back in 2018, and fast forward to the present day, and we now have a complete series, and it seems like they got picked up by Pony Canyon somewhere along the way. It's a passion project, and thankfully it looks great. They managed to get some major names involved, including character designer Terumi Nishi and Hiroyuki Sawano. Looking forward to it. Orb on the Movements of the Earth, a historical show which is rare. I don't know anything about it, but it sounds interesting. The setting is unique, the staff is seemingly strong, and Kensuke Ushio is making the soundtrack. This should be good. And finally we have Negative Positive Angler. From the looks of it, it's a show waiting to jerk your tears. I think it will lure us in with its comedy, and once our guards are down, it will hit us right in the feels. I didn't actually clap, that would have messed with the audio. The story is a version of that depressed guy finds a new hobby formula, and I'm here for it. Also, the show looks quite good, which is always a plus. And that was my list. Let me know yours down in the comments, or is it a bit too early for that? Probably is. Regardless, that's about it. Liked the video? Check out this other bit of content on screen. Like and subscribe, and until next time.